Welcome to a discussion today of the high efficiency mask market and a proactive program for suppliers. This is a new service available from the McIlvaine Company and addressing probably the biggest market potential in the history of filtration. Evidence is certainly growing that highly efficient rather than cloth masks will be needed to vanquish COVID. A proactive program by mask and media suppliers would greatly reduce COVID and generate very large revenues for suppliers of media and masks. Cloth masks are not efficient at removing small aerosols. That's pretty much a given. And in fact, there's growing support for the thesis that they are aerosol generators. Validation and communication of differences between masks and more efficient mask respirators will enlarge the market opportunity by many billions of dollars. McIlvaine is providing alerts and analysis in this whole area with our coronavirus technology alerts. And it's possible to justify the investment in a specific type of mask for a specific location and activity and determine the risk reduction from a specific mask type and investment. Many influencers and purchasers do not differentiate between masks and are therefore not investing in the right products to reduce their risk to the levels they believe acceptable. As a result, the market for efficient masks is much smaller than it will be when buyers and influencers are presented with reliable cost-benefit information. There's the opportunity for suppliers to greatly increase sales by joining in a program to, one, ascertain reliable cost-benefit information for every application in every country and for each type of individual. Secondly, to communicate that information to the influencers and decision makers with webinars, magazine articles, and white papers. Thirdly, receive market forecasts for the thousands of individual opportunities with an understanding of the competitive advantages and disadvantages of the different options. Now, this high efficiency mass market and proactive program for suppliers includes the coronavirus technology solutions, and that's a service that has daily alerts of over 10 pages of analysis and insights. It includes webinars and white papers, and it's got an easy search capability for the voluminous amount of information that's being generated. The mass market program provides true cost evaluations of all the options, continuously updated and comprehensive market forecasts. Each supplier has the opportunity to make 5 recorded interviews. In addition, he can participate in general webinars. He can also participate in important decisions such as ways to define the market. This is also, of course, the way the customer chooses products. The ability to shape the market with inputs to the alerts and webinars. So the deliverables and costs are, one, the provision of the daily alerts to any designated individual within the company. So there would be a corporate subscription. A custom website to encourage intra-company discussions. A display of the forecast for each country continually revised and displayed on the website. Intra-company sales and technical discussions could be led by the McIlvaine Company. So all these services for 12 months are priced at $8,900 per year. There's a big opportunity for shaping the market through analysis and collaboration. The investment in masks is a function of perceived life quality net impacts. A true cost analysis will be performed for each type of mask in each application. A common metric to measure all harm and good was originally developed through a contract with a major surgical gown supplier, but it is uniquely applicable to all COVID-related choices. Since this metric incorporates the life quality risk choices, as well as tribal and discounted future values, it is a true reflection of the will of the people rather than just imposed morality. So you have to balance the cost and life quality reductions of masks, which include reduction in comfort, social image, breathability, etc., with the benefits including life saved, days of sickness reduced, and all the emotional stress which is eliminated by conquering COVID. So many of the factors such as comfort and breathability are those within the control of suppliers. Collaboration among suppliers can result in shaping the basis for true cost. For example, a major filter media company has volunteered to test the aerosol generation from cloth masks. With this program and collaboration of the participants, the market can be shaped to the benefit of everyone. The costs need to be determined for each circumstance. Everyone agrees that there are high virus loads, such as in surgeries, where N100 masks are unquestionably the choice. In a crowded subway, an N95 mask may be the best choice. A more comfortable N70 mask may be the best choice walking down a city street with very few people around. This is likely to result in individuals using several different mask types during the day. You're balancing masks with different efficiencies or designs, social distancing, and laminar air as being the alternative options to a specific mask with a specific efficiency for a specific individual in a specific circumstance. The mask comparison includes the common metric of quality enhanced life days called KELD. Every minute we drive in a zone with a 65 mile an hour speed limit reduces life expectancy by 30 seconds. If we went back to the 55 mile per hour speed limit, we would statistically lose 25 seconds of life for each minute spent traveling. The difference is a few days over a lifetime. But we choose that because we make many decisions, such as eating ice cream, that shorten life but enhance life quality. We can probably justify a lower mask efficiency equal to the risk of a 65 mile an hour speed limit, but few people will want to take the risk of raising the speed limits to 100 miles per hour or wearing an inefficient mask, which adds that much extra risk. So I think this is a good way to think in terms of how to evaluate what we would do and what we wouldn't do. There are a number of factors affecting the market that we have to keep evaluating. One is mask performance. How efficient are various masks at capturing virus particles? Do cloth masks simply become aerosol generators after stopping large cough droplets? We're doing a number of webinars with experts on droplet evaporation and getting some very interesting insights. Virus parameters. How big are aerosols when released initially versus after evaporation or release from surfaces? How long are viruses active and are they revived in the lungs? There's a lot of evidence to that effect. How many virus particles are released? What is the minimum viral load? Do inefficient masks capture enough cough droplets and become aerosol generators? Disease parameters. What is the average severity and duration of disease? How many additional people are infected by each new case? Mask media types. Electrostatically charged meltblowns have to be compared because they're in short supply due to the equipment shortages, to nanofibers, membranes, and many other types of media that could be used. Then we have mask media availability. What is the availability of meltblown media worldwide, as well as in specific countries? What is the availability of alternative high-efficiency media? What will it take to produce 500 million masks per day? Mask physics. What is the importance of fit? What is the comfort and breathability of various alternatives? What about the expanded media area with respirators and/or pleats? Mask cleaning. What are the ways to decontaminate meltblowns without losing the electrostatic effect? How many cleanings are possible? How are nanofiber, or for that matter, membrane masks cleaned? And how many wearings can be achieved at acceptable performance levels? Mask cost. What's the cost per wearing for various mask types? COVID nationalism. What are the implications for adequate availability of masks in each country versus restrictive policies of some countries? Co-benefits of air pollution capture. Efficient masks are already being used in many countries to protect against air pollutants, such as fine particles which penetrate the lungs. So there's a big co-benefit that needs to be assessed. Country-specific factors. Important factors are GDP per capita, percentage of people previously infected, population density, and specific mitigation programs in place. The program includes several 100,000 forecasts by country, application, media, and type. So we're looking at one breakout by the type of mask according to the media that's being used. So you've got meltblown, membrane, nanofiber, and other. And this is defined as that part of the medium, because it could be a multi-layer media, but that media which is used for removing the smallest particles. So meltblown capacity is limited based on equipment backlogs of 1 year or more. Alternative media is more available, but breathability, comfort, and other factors must be considered. Mask reuse is one factor and is less of a challenge for media which does not rely on electrostatic charging. Some of the alternatives are listed in subsequent slides, but to put this in context, the amount of media that's used compared to the amount of nonwovens that goes in to diapers or wipes is almost insignificant. So we look at this as a huge challenge, but for the nonwovens industry, it is a very small market compared to these other retail markets. So the media suppliers and the mass suppliers all need forecasts for their products. So we split the media's forecast in tons per year and dollars for each of the major media types. Mask revenues are forecast in dollars per year for masks based on the price obtained by the mask manufacturer. However, we do have an analysis of the distribution chain and markups throughout that supply chain. The forecasts take into account artificial price pressures exerted by governments concerned about available PPE supply. These forecasts are constantly revised. Longer range forecasts are shaped by the availability of vaccines and therapies. Since McIlvaine also publishes coronavirus pharmaceutical solutions, it has the perspective to evaluate this impact. And the best guess, certainly at present, is that it's going to be several years before there is a reliable vaccine and therapy. And it's very likely that this virus will be like the other flu viruses and be something that is recurring, but because a lot of people are vaccinated, is not doesn't create the kind of crisis it's creating now. But it does mean that it will be constant. And the best guess presently is there is going to be a long range need for masks, and the value is going to be implanted in people's brains. And so, like in China already, people are used to wearing masks and do so because of the air pollutants. And I think the same thing is going to be true worldwide here when we finally do get through this crisis. Then we come to the mask market by country. Forecasts are provided for each mask type in each application in each of 80 countries and sub-regions. And we divide the sub-regions so they would have, each sub-region would be equal to a small country in terms of the total market. So we can break the world really into 80 different segments that are not that far apart in terms of their value. Forecasts are then aggregated by region. Forecasts take into account the air pollution as well as COVID mitigation in China and other Asian cities. For underdeveloped countries, the UN assistance programs are evaluated. The most important parameter possibly here is the mask market by filter efficiency. The proactive program will convince wearers that they need a mask which is relatively tight-fitting and will remove 70% of the 0.3 micron particles. The term mask is used when, in fact, respirator would be the correct description because the goal is to protect both the wearer and others. The present very large market for cloth masks will shrink and be replaced with more efficient masks as segmented above. And this segmentation is subject to change. And certainly as time goes on, the percentages in each segment will be reevaluated. But there is a lot to be said for the more efficient N95 masks for even public use. We will also segment the market by design: surgical masks versus respirators. Surgical masks are loose-fitting and designed to protect others from coughs and sneezes. If these masks are shown to be aerosol generators, the market for them in the future will be very limited. Instead, N70 to N100 respirators will capture most of the market. Another issue is valve versus non-valve masks. If both wearer and recipient are wearing N95 masks with valves, even though the wearer is injecting all the virus, the recipient would still receive only 5% of the virus load. If both are wearing N70 masks without valves, the maximum load for the recipient is 9%. So N95 masks with valves for everyone are better than N70 masks without valves for everyone. Respirators with replaceable cartridges, such as made by MSA and Draeger, have advantages and need not only to be evaluated, but continually assessed. Then we come to the market by application. Most of the other researchers are taking the view of trying to assess the market by individuals versus some other category. But of course, all masks are worn by individuals. Efficient masks will be a primary weapon to vanquish COVID. The use by healthcare workers will be a small percentage of the total use. There are 3 billion people who are routinely congregating with others. If we could invest in the amount per capita we did on headgear for astronauts on Mars, or even workers in a Class 1 semiconductor clean room, there would be no transmission of COVID. The question is not whether masks will solve the problem, but whether the investment can be justified and whether people will wear them. The new evidence that much of the transmission is by small aerosols, which can travel long distances, means that masks become the first line of defense. Selection of mask efficiency will be influenced by the viral load. This means that the individual will want to wear one type of mask on the subway and another around his residence. The mask he wears for dining out will be distinct from the one he wears in his job at a meatpacking plant. The most accurate way to forecast mask use in any country is to analyze the use in each of the applications rather than just use by the total population. Mask use per day in hospital settings will be different than mask use per day for sports and entertainment. In many hospital settings are going to be multiple masks required per day per individual. So we are breaking the market by country and mask type into all these different applications, which include the commercial, which would be your buildings and the so certainly commercial buildings, office buildings, and various other types of buildings, education, government buildings, and government activities such as Department of Defense, hospitals, nursing homes, food processing, and particularly meat packing plants. Other healthcare, you've got dental offices and other types of laboratories and things. You've got other industrial applications. Pretty much every industry that has people congregating needs to have these masks. And then you've got residential. People are going to be wearing masks around the house and around their neighborhood. And the transportation would be not only subways and local transportation, but your airlines and trains and other forms of transportation. And then you've got entertainment, dining, and sports. The analysis of the technology is key. There's a tremendous amount of information that's coming out every day, and it continues to shape the market as we know it and forecast it. So it is shaped by developing knowledge and technology. The daily alerts, interviews, and webinars are providing insights which change the outlook. The amount of new information and resultant potential progress is unprecedented. Many suppliers have made the COVID problem their number one priority. The following listing shows some of the newer media technologies which are being evaluated in the daily alerts. They are listed chronologically with the latest reports first. They include ways to make meltblowns more efficient, an N70 washable media constructed from membranes and nanofibers. They include even transparent media and various microglass uses, including in cartridges. New designs are being introduced on an almost daily basis. The daily alert is 10 pages in length. This extensive coverage is necessary to keep up with the developments. The following list covers the period of July 25 back through March 30th. So Ambrust American, we did an interview with them. It makes N95 masks, and they have a unique charging for meltblowns with what they say gives much higher efficiency. Berry has a composite single layer for public use, so there'll be an N90 type mask. H&V has an N99 microglass with HEPA cartridges for respirators. Friedenberg, an N95 mask spun bond with unique NWI media. Alstrom has an N90 mask, and they're partnering with a sportswear company. Ascend has an N99 nanofiber mask, but they have both nanofiber and microfiber versions. So Swomanen has an N95 mask, non-woven with a new media. O2 Canada has an N95 mask that's really got an insert into a reusable filter. AKAS has an N95 layered mask that they say outperforms N95. Shinshu University has a nanofiber washable mask. Purdue has developed an N95 meltblown with a new elastic band. eSpin has a nanofiber mask. One of the limits is the small production capacity. Big Nano has a meltblown mask with smaller diameter fibers than it would be N95. NXT Nano has an N95 mask with nano fibers. I should mention here that when it comes to membranes anyway, and certainly microfibers, and to some extent nanofibers, there are relatively large production capacities available or ways to rapidly ramp up to high production. So Mogul has a microfiber for the general public, which would be an N90 mask. Fibertex has an N95 mask with nanofibers, but they also have a 70% efficiency mask for the public. Vogue mask has an N95 layered mask. It's washable with and without a valve, and they have a very interesting history, including a brief period where they had a mask store in China, fashionable mask for air pollution. BWF has an N90 mask using nonwovens and designed for non-medical use. TTG has an N95 mask with membranes, and it's got a PTFE membrane middle layer. Swiss Federal has an N95 mask. Again, they're using membranes. What's distinct about theirs is that it's transparent, so you can't see the lip movement. King Abdullah University has an N99 mask with a replaceable silicon membrane. FET has an N95 meltblown mask, but it's an alternative to polypropylene. Neotrition is a Chinese company. They have an N95 nanofiber mask, which is washable, as are most of the nanofiber and membrane masks, because they don't rely on electrostatic charging. They rely on the filtration apertures. Nexera has an N95 polyester-based mask with Aegon antimicrobials. Kuban State is a Russian organization and has an nanofiber N95 mask. Cambridge out of the UK has an N95 mask with spun bonds and small carbon fibers. IQ Air is an N99 microglass-based mask, originally designed for air pollution control. Modern Healthcare has an N80 mask using nonwovens and aiming for the public in Taiwan. Bondex has an N95 mask using hydro-entangled technology. Asiatic Fiber has layered technology for an N95 mask, which does include an antibacterial layer. Stardex Med has an N90 mask with a small, what they claim is the smallest insert of any mask into other masks. 22 Mask has an N95 mask with 5 layers that's designed for the upscale market. ExxonMobil is interesting because back in the 60s, they really developed the first melt-blown media. So they are involved in a number of different ways, but one of them is a replaceable filter in a rubber mask. Sindot has an N95 membrane mask with a replaceable membrane. So the Cummins has been using their technology for engines and other applications, and has teamed with DuPont for a membrane-based mask. This sums up the coverage of the program that we're offering. And my name is Bob McElvain, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. You can reach me at 847-226-2391. And thanks for your attention today.